Finally from us tonight, it could be a new season for the fashion industry. Some U.S. clothing companies say they are working hard to improve safety standards for garment workers in Bangladesh, coming 6 months after a deadly factory collapsed there. But are the changes real, or is it just window dressing? From Brooklyn, New York, Al Jazeera's Kristen Saloomey follows the ethical fashion trend.
In this trendy Brooklyn boutique, where and how the clothes are made are just as important as how they look and fit. Boomki specializes in ethically produced designs.
And so one of the things that we do here at Boomki is we try to hit all of these categories in some way.
Swati Argade launched the boutique 1 year ago. Her designer, Emily Porter, is a student at the Fashion Institute of Technology, studying sustainable entrepreneurship.
I don't know that this store would have been able to survive like 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. But we have a lot of people that want to have conversations about what's happening in Bangladesh. They feel really grateful that we provide a selection of goods that come with a lot of thinking and embrace philosophies of social responsibility.
A series of factory disasters in Bangladesh, including the Rana Plaza collapse, have helped call attention to poor working conditions there. More than 1,200 workers died. It's also put the spotlight on American clothing companies, who purchase 25% of Bangladeshi exports. Gap and Walmart lead a group of 23 U.S. retailers who've joined the Bangladesh Worker Safety Initiative. They've promised more factory inspections, higher safety standards, and $110 million in loans for building improvements. But critics say European efforts have gone much farther. The American initiative allows brands and retailers to retain control of factory inspections, pay nothing towards the renovation and repair of factories, and walk away from the agreement with only minor penalties.
Unfortunately, the Walmart Gap initiative lacks the genuinely binding, enforceable components.
Al Jazeera reached out to all 23 retailers and the management of the alliance itself. Not one would answer our questions on camera. But the alliance said in a statement its agreement was meant to ensure the funds of the members are spent efficiently to address the safety problems of Bangladeshi workers, while at the same time protecting our shareholders from the risks that follow from ambiguous, undefined obligations.
That the Bangladesh government and the local factory owners cannot improve the situation unless the brands and retailers producing in Bangladesh, the Western brands and retailers, are willing to support that process by accepting modestly higher prices for their products. As long as brands and retailers insist on prices so low that the only way the factories can meet those prices is to ignore worker safety, we will not see progress.
Demand for lower prices has helped drive apparel manufacturing out of New York's famous garment district in recent decades. At its peak, 105,000 workers made clothes here. Now it's just over 7,000. But the tide here may be turning due to efforts to promote locally made clothing and preserve the industry. This factory received an order recently from a company which does most of its production overseas.
We are seeing a change. The dynamics of apparel production are shifting. A lot more companies are interested in producing domestically as a sustainable practice. Some of the companies are just doing it for a PR campaign because something has happened really bad overseas, and now they're trying to save face by saying that they're also making in the United States.
But there are designers like Andrew Rosen, CEO of Theory, who've made a commitment to have their full lines made in New York. They say it's better for the environment and better for the local economy.
These American garment workers make more in one day than Bangladeshi workers currently make in an entire month. The safety standards here are also much more stringent, ever since the United States experienced its own factory disaster back in 1911.
A fire at New York's Triangle Shirtwaist Factory killed 146 workers, most of them young immigrant women. Public outrage led to improved safety standards, the growth of unions, and hefty fines for blocked fire escapes. In Bangladesh, dozens have died in fires due to locked exits, meant to prevent workers from stealing. But while public awareness of these problems may be growing, they aren't known to many consumers.
Do you ever think about where your clothes come from and how they're made?
No, not really. I don't want it to come from China.
What about from Bangladesh? Like Gap?
Well,
A lot of their stuff comes from Bangladesh. They've had a lot of unsafe factories where people have died.
that's problematic for me as well, but I know more about the issues in China.
And low-cost, ethical clothing options are hard to come by.
Where you cannot really, buy clothes which are not produced there. I think all fabrics are produced there.
And this is a brand that we're really happy to have.
Bumki's owner, Argade, says that isn't exactly true. And problems in Bangladeshi factories could be fixed if U.S. retailers were willing to cut into their profits.
A lot of people are saying it's going to get passed on to the consumers, but the kind of improvements that would have to take place are really not that expensive.
And the more popular ethical fashion becomes, the more big retailers are likely to change to stay fashionable.
Very fashion-forward report from Kristen Saloomey.